Hello everyone. This video is just going to provide a quick chat about the role of artificial intelligence in our community society today. And I just want to make a few comments about its role as it relates to the writing classroom. So as many of you may know, or perhaps maybe there are many who do not know, we have several tools labeled as artificial intelligence, and that has been rolled out, has been around for a while, but and where many people have become familiar with it, and it's something that I feel we need to talk about in relation to the writing class. So as many of you know, there's ChatGPT, one of the other ones is Tome, and I find that these tools are not something to be feared, and not something that us as writing teachers need to kind of worry about in a lot of ways, but I bring it up mostly to address a few points. So first, of course, plagiarism sort of rolls to the top of the list of potential issues that might come across as it relates to these sorts of software programs, or any kind of any type of plagiarism at all whatsoever. But yes, it can be challenging to determine what the plagiarism is about, but it's important to remember that writing is very intricate, okay? And academic writing in particular kind of has its own nuances. And so these sorts of AI technology don't really reflect those nuances, although it may appear that way on the surface level. So me kind of making commentary about this isn't to discourage you from using these. I'm all about using tools that can help you in the process of really anything as it relates to writing, and then using those tools sort of as jumping off points, but definitely not in place of, okay? Ultimately, you have to remember that a lot of the assignments in this class ask for your perspectives. As you will read in the syllabus and just kind of the overall nature of the class, the role of this course is to not determine answers, get the right answer, but rather discover, explore, share ideas, comment on ideas, critique other ideas, things of that nature. And these sorts of technologies don't necessarily do that with the kind of specificity needed and what's looked for in the kind of academic writing environments, okay? So as an example of what I want to point out as far as what to avoid and how you can use these. So as an example here, I just kind of, wanted to show the two ways or sort of address two points. Okay, so the first one is this particular example right here, okay? Now, you'll notice that here I say, is the sentence grammatically correct? I is a woman. And of course, this provides an explanation about it. And gives you the correct answer. Now, to me, this is helpful, obviously, because it is helping you in trying to ensure that how you're writing something might adhere to, again, this is standard American English. Not everything is about being grammatically correct. Again, this is another nuance, of course, but if the emphasis on your end is to want to adhere to standard American English and strict grammar rules and policies, then of course this can be helpful. Now, the thing that's important here is as it explains the why, right? If you don't understand what it's talking about, so for instance, if you don't understand how pronouns work, or what the verb and the agreement of the person and the number all means, then this kind of relatively becomes pointless, and you reliant on these sorts of tools from here on out in order to develop these writing tools. So what I would say is, if you truly want to learn using these tools, is to find out, well, what are pronouns? What does it mean to have the verb and person and number agree, and things like that. So if, for instance, you are wanting to know more Okay, now my class isn't a highly grammatical, class into teaching you grammar, mechanics of English, because it is assumed that you have some level of understanding. But if you wish to know more, there is an option in the discussion board that you can put in a request for me to create something, specifically a video. They're generally 5 to 7 minutes long, very quick, about what these mean. So if you want to learn more about it, feel free to do that. So this is an example of kind of the jumping off point that I mentioned. Now, as far as essays, right? So a lot of, students kind of got excited, worried, or whatever. But for me, again, if it's asking you to write an argumentative essay about abortion rights, for example, and to me, if I read something like this is all very generic statements, and in fact, ways that I suggest you don't write. So for example, this intro is very bland, very boring. In fact, this sentence right here is not even a thesis statement, so that would kind of get you into a little bit of an issue, and then having to go back and revise in order to make a thesis statement. The other thing too is body paragraph structures aren't necessarily developed effectively for academic writing, especially because you have to provide interpretation, you have to integrate sources, support statements that are being made, and so forth. However, they can provide a sort of starting off point, as I said before, structure. So yes, you can say one of the main arguments in favor, but again, you're not just regurgitating information about what those arguments are, because when I'm asking you to make assignments, it's not about what's being said, it's about what you have to say, okay? And so if I see something like that, yes, it sounds great, but it's empty of ideas. And you may not see that because, of course, you're not the writing professor. And so just be careful of relying on these sorts of things. Again, use it wisely, use it cautiously. But definitely find ways that can work to your advantage in helping you learn and becoming a stronger writer. You can definitely look to see on sentence structure, clarity, things like that. But as far as developing actual essays, they may fall short in the kinds of specifics that are being asked of you by your teacher, but specifically me. My assignments are asking and looking for things that are specific, that are not necessarily or can't necessarily be generated by these types of technology, okay? So once again, I'm not discouraging you. In fact, I'm a proponent of it. And if it's something that could help you in the long run, great. But just, again, be very careful and try not to be reliant too much. I would say the one tool that you would want to rely on is your own mind, thinking, thoughts, ideas, attitudes, perceptions, and your brain.